Hello and welcome to Tête-à-Tête, France 24's flagship interview show. Our guests this week are Sergey Tikhanovsky and his wife Svetlana, the Belarus opposition leaders. They were reunited just a few days ago following Sergey's surprise release after more than 5 years behind the bars of dictator Alexander Lukashenko. They joined us from Vilnius in Lithuania. Thank you very much for being with us, Sergey and Svetlana.
Hi.
Sergey, let me begin with you. You spent over 5 years in jail. What did you suffer mostly from? From torture, from solitary confinement? Tell us about your detention conditions.
The hardest part was isolation, not seeing anyone, not hearing anything for years. I talked to the walls, sometimes to the guards. Yes, there was torture, physical and psychological, but the worst part was how they tried to break our spirit, to make you feel forgotten. They told me I'd never get out alive. Yes, I lost weight, but I did not lose myself.
What you did lose is a lot of time with your daughter. She was 5-year-old when you were arrested back in 2020. You were then hoping to compete for the presidential election. When you got out of jail and you reunited with her, she did not recognize you. How did you feel?
My daughter looked at me and didn't recognize me. That broke my heart. She spent most of her life without me, but now I will be there for her. My daughter is a fighter too. She supported me even when I couldn't receive her letters. She showed me drawings, photos, messages. It gives me strength. I want to be a good father and a good example for her and for all Belarusian children. So no child ever has to grow up without their parents just because those parents wanted to live in truth.
Svetlana, how did you feel? I mean, in 2023, I remember the Belarus authorities told you Sergey had died. And now you see him sitting next to you. How do you feel about it?
Of course, I feel much more confident at the moment. You might remember that for more than 2 years, I haven't heard any information about him. There were gossips that he committed suicide, and I didn't know if he was alive, actually. And it was such a huge surprise for me that he was released, because we were sure that my husband will be among the last who will be released from prisons. But honestly speaking, his detention was my personal pain. Now his release is my personal joy, of course. But we cannot really enjoy these feelings, because there are more than thousands of people are still behind bars, and we have to fight until the very last of them is released. And I'm so grateful to my husband that, despite the fact that he's so exhausted, that he lost half of his weight, he's not broken. He's full of energy. He's full of new ideas and projects, how to contribute to our movement and dismantle this regime, because he went through all these tortures and he realizes that thousands more people are going through the same tortures as well.
Svetlana, can I just ask you, how did you learn that he was released? I mean, how did it happen?
Actually, at the moment when one day, my mobile phone rang and I heard my husband's voice that Svetlana, I am free. Of course, we knew that because of General Kellogg's visit to Minsk, some people will be released from prisons. There were negotiations with our American partners about this, but I was really, it was unexpected for me that Sergey will be among these people. So when I heard his voice, I understood that now he is with me, leader of people returned, and he's going to continue our fight.
Sergey, on your end. You were released with 13 other political prisoners. Was it a total surprise? How did you learn about it?
They started preparing it in advance. A month before, they began giving me double food. I felt something was happening. I knew that my wife, my president Svetlana, was fighting for me, but I didn't know where. They took us from prison without a word. Only later, when American diplomats took us, I understood. I saw other prisoners, foreigner too, but I also realized that they were deporting us from Belarus. So when you say release, yes, we are free, but it was also deportation. I still dream of returning home.
Sergey, I need to ask you this. Did you make a deal with the Belarus authorities to abandon politics against your freedom?
No, never. I did not sign anything. I did not agree to stay silent. I'm here, I'm free, and I will keep doing what I did before, speaking the truth, supporting our people, standing with my wife and our movement. And I know that most of those who are still in prison will never betray their values. It's our job now to fight for them.
Sergey, as Svetlana said, your release or deportation, as you describe it, was the result of a meeting on June 15 between the U.S. Special Envoy Keith Kellogg and Alexander Lukashenko. Do you think that U.S. is trying maybe to distance Lukashenko from Vladimir Putin? Or do you think it is actually a mistake and that Lukashenko is trying to stay in power?
Yes, this happened thanks to President Trump and his team, General Kellogg, Chris Smith, and others, but also thanks to European leaders who kept up the pressure all these years, who stood by Svetlana and the movement. This was the result of a joint international effort. It worked. Pressure works. We must keep pushing. And I want to ask President Trump to go further, to use his power to free the rest. It could be his great victory. Belarus can be a success story for all of us.
Svetlana, when Sergey was imprisoned, he was hoping to compete in the presidential election. You competed in his stead, and now you're the leader of the opposition. Now that he's free, obviously this begs the question, is he going to be the leader, or are you going to stay in politics in which you entered a little bit by accident, if I may say?
Look, now this whole geopolitical context need more brave and principled leaders, not only in the Belarusian democratic movement, but also all over the world. And of course, Sergey, he was the leader in 2020, and he's the leader now. But Sergey is not arguing, with my leading position in our movement. He knows that I was elected back in 2020, and we are not just competing now, we are complementing each other. We together strengthening our democratic movement. Maybe we will go in parallel. Maybe I will work more on international arena, through diplomatic means. Sergey is wonderful at mobilizing people, inspiring people, giving new boost, to our movement. And if the regime thought that releasing Sergey, they will split our movement, so they miscalculated. We only strengthening each other, and people are so inspired. And I see that our democratic partners, European partners, Americans also see very good sign with the Sergey release that he will manage also, to double this Belarusians' pressure on the regime.
As a conclusion, Sergey, do you think the Lukashenko regime is very fragile and not as strong as Lukashenko says?
Lukashenko's regime might seem monolithic, and very strong. But for sure, Lukashenko is very vulnerable now and very fragile, as you say, because he understands that Lukashenko doesn't enjoy the support of Belarusian people. Still, most of Belarusians hate him. They want changes in Belarus. They want Belarus to be part of European family of countries. We all understand that Lukashenko is puppet of Putin. He is serving to Putin's interest, not to Belarusian one. He is ready to sacrifice Belarusian sovereignty and independence just to stay in power. And that is why it's so important now for firm, strong, and principled position of our democratic partners that the pressure on the regime must continue. Support to Belarusian people, Belarusian society, the democratic political structures have to remain stable, and we have to be prepared for the window of opportunity. Because Belarusian people are ready, we are not giving up, and we have to be aligned with our European partners, with the Americans, of course, and we are so grateful to all Western countries for this 5 years support. Last time I met President Macron, he was so interested in releasing of our political prisoners and helping us to solve humanitarian and political crisis in Belarus.
Svetlana and Sergey, I want to thank you very much for being with us from Vilnius in Lithuania, and I want to thank you very much for watching this edition of Tête à Tête here on France 24.